So let's fast forward now to the 20th century to our next key thinker, John Rawls, an American philosopher who's seen as the most important exponent of modern liberalism. You are not going to be writing any essay really on liberalism without mentioning John Rawls, because every time you talk about modern liberalism, he's really going to be your main man. His key work was a book called The Theory of Justice, and justice really underpins his whole thinking. He wants justice for poor people, and he's genuinely focused on the plight of the poor. So if we go back to foundational equality that we've talked about, he would argue that foundational equality means that individuals need more than just formal equality. They actually need to have social and economic equality. This was necessary in order to have a just society where all lives could be rich and fulfilled. But in order to do this, the state had to get involved. There had to be redistribution of wealth via an enabling state, which would have extensive public spending and progressive taxation. He still believes in individual liberty, and he aims to set out to prove that individual liberty can be reconciled with this social justice. He sets out in his book this thought experiment called the veil of ignorance, which again is really key that you understand. So he gets people to think about what kind of society they would like. If you had to start a society from scratch and say how wealth would be distributed and so on, what kind of society would you have? And then he brings in the veil of ignorance, a sort of hypothetical situation where individuals basically would have no preconception or idea about where they would be in a society. So, you might be rich or you might be poor, you don't know what ethnic background you'd have, you might be lazy, you might be hardworking. And he argues that being rational, people faced with that situation would want individuals to have a fairer society, a society where the poorest members were better off than, say, in our current society. Because obviously, if they don't know where they're going to go in that society, they want to make sure that if they were sort of in the poor, at the bottom of society, that it wouldn't be too bad. So basically, if people really had to sort of think about society from scratch and not know where they were going to be, they would want it to be much more equal in case they were put into the bottom end, so that it wouldn't be too bad. So if you take that as a starting point, then actually people really do want to have a better society. Now, he would argue that that is not socialism, like trying to make everybody equal, so in case you end up somewhere. He still says that although most individuals want to improve the lot of the poorest, they would still want to have that scope for individual fulfillment and self-fulfillment. So go back to that liberal ideas of meritocracy. So you could still end up, at the end of the day, with inequalities of outcome. But the key thing is you would try to make society try and get rid of those divisions between rich and poor as much as you could, and the state would have to play a big role in that. There's a couple of videos here for you to watch on John Rawls. Have a read in the textbook again on that, and then fill in your grid.